Welcome to Quilting on the Side, the podcast for quilters who are building a business while juggling real life.
I'm Tori from Hey Tori, a quilter, past pattern designer and teacher, and now a digital marketing coach for quilting entrepreneurs.
And I'm Andi from True Blue Quilts, long arm quilter, pattern designer, and quilting instructor.
Between the two of us, we've taught workshops, launched programs, joined summits, and stayed up way too late trying to finish one more quilt binding.
On this show, we're sharing what's worked and what hasn't in our interviews from incredible guests, everyone from quilting solo business owners to CEOs.
If you're running a quilting or creative business or dreaming about starting one, you'll find real talk, honest strategies, and a whole lot of support here.
So grab your notebook, grab your pen, and let's dive into another episode of Quilting on the Side. Welcome to another episode of Quilting on the Side. Tori and I wanted to have a conversation today to really help prepare people for the quilt business in terms of pattern design and working with quilt shops. So where do you want to start, Tori? We've got a couple different perspectives and tangents we can go down with this topic.
So I think we might wind a little bit here, but stay with us because I think this is a really important conversation. Because we've gotten a few comments, a few questions from quilt shop owners and from pattern designers about working with quilt shop owners. So I think what we're going to try to do today is kind of bridge that gap between what do quilt shops expect, what do pattern designers expect. And one of the comments that was made was kind of there was an implication that pattern designers don't need quilt shops. When I talk to pattern designers, it's like a dream to see their patterns in a quilt shop. And that's kind of where the subject kind of came from. There's a couple of those comments, like how we definitely need to be working together, quilt shops and pattern designers. And what we thought today, we could maybe start with the business models for each, I think, and then show how we could work together. I think that might be the best way to go. So we know for pattern designers, they rely on bulk sales because they're selling a $12 pattern, a $14 pattern. It's not a huge money maker. And then when you cut that down, that's retail price, right? So when you're selling to wholesale, that's $7. When you're selling to distributors, that's even lower. That's like
$3 or $4.
At least, yeah, like $5, $4, somewhere in there dollars. Like it's not very much. So when you're selling, 3 patterns to a quilt shop, you're only making like $12. Whereas if you're able to grow, let's say, a following and sell directly to consumer, that can be a good way to go, but it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of getting in front of people. And we know there are a few outliers out there that have successfully done that. And have built a huge audience where they can release a pattern and it sells and it makes them a lot of money because they don't have to worry about wholesale. They don't have to worry about distributor pricing. But most pattern designers, they rely on that bulk sale. So getting in with the distributor and having 3 patterns in 100 quilt shops is the only way that they can make this business sustainable. I'll pause there.
Yeah. So you're right, because with the internet, it makes the barrier to entry so low that pattern designers, like you said, can go directly to the consumer. But we need to really work on that partnership with shops because, I don't want to keep a bunch of inventory to have to kit up my own patterns. I want to partner with those retail shops that are offering the actual supplies to make my patterns. So it just makes sense to do that. But on the shop owner perspective, they may not be interested in, all these individual designers coming up and saying, hey, sell my pattern, sell my pattern. So like you were saying, working with distributors to get that bulk order is definitely the way to go. So what do you say to pattern designers about reaching out to those distributors?
Well, I'm going to say H&H is probably the best place to do it. Anytime that you could talk to them in person is going to be great. If you get denied, don't give up. So I've talked to a few pattern designers over the last couple of years. Like I've gone to H&H. This will be my 3rd year. So the first year, like, some of the big distributors said no to them, and they had, like, 6 to 8 patterns, like, they had a good amount, and not like a super large amount, but they had a good amount, and then the next year, they said no, but then one said yes. And then the next year, now she's got one in particular I'm thinking of, she's got 3. Now she has 3 distributors. So I wouldn't give up. Sometimes they're not looking for your type of patterns yet or your style yet, and they may be interested later. So that's one thing. Another thing is to look at not necessarily distributors, but those online shops that sell to more than like, they're big online shops, like, I'm thinking Fat Quarter Shop. Like, maybe approaching them if you can't get into a distributor and seeing if they're interested in holding patterns. I mean, there's different ways that you can go to kinda see where anywhere you can get one to many is going to help. But yeah, H&H is probably like, and I know it's coming up, we talked about it a lot, but it is a great event to do just that, is to get in front of distributors, that real people that actually have buying power, and get their feedback, whether it's positive or not so positive. It's always great to hear it. That way you know which direction to go.
Yeah,
What
for
about you, Andy? What
sure.
do you think?
Um, I agree. This year will be my first year at H&H. When I went to market many, many years ago, it was from the just the shop owner newbie perspective, and I didn't have the idea of networking with some of these um, businesses and the distributors. So one of the comments that comes to mind that I saw in our Facebook quilt pattern designer group was that you want to kind of have proof of concept that your pattern is popular enough for distributors to take it nationwide. Um, because you were saying having a collection, having several patterns, having a library that the distributors can choose from and feature will help to show your style. But we've also seen people be successful with just one pattern, but they had proof that that one pattern was popular. So you have to put a little bit of the time and effort into it. It's not like you just design a pattern, then the next week you take it to a distributor and you're going to have this new business. So you do need to put the work into it. But yeah, H&H, I'm really looking forward to it. And they have the fall show in Houston this year. So if you
They
can't make
do?
it to Chicago in May, definitely look at these future opportunities coming up. And Crossroads, we've talked about that a lot. That's coming up in um, California in the spring of 2027. So
Oh,
uh,
January.
yeah,
January.
yeah,
Yeah,
things to put on your long-term planning calendar. So, um,
for sure.
so working with quilt shops, what can pattern designers do? What do you think some strategies there are to get your work out in front of more people?
Well, okay, so we know that quilt shops, they're not super interested in holding patterns in bulk either. So we do know that. We know that a few quilt shop owners may see you as competition because you're selling directly to consumer, which honestly I think is misled, because we post on Instagram all the time just to get eyes on it and hope that a distributor will like it and then get it out there. But there's some people who are, like, again, successful at that. But the majority of us, it's very hard to build up that kind of following off of a handful of patterns and to get actual sales coming in. So that's one myth I want to dispel, is that quilt pattern designers are making a ton of money, because there are a few that are, and they're doing amazing, but the majority of us, we do need help. We need to get into a one-to-many situation where people can buy these patterns in bulk. So, working directly with a quilt shop, I think it's great if you go in there regularly, if you actually take the time to get to know their style, because what they have in stock is what their customers are buying. And then from there, you can design maybe a sample, maybe a pattern that goes with that, with the the vibe of the quilt shop, the
Yeah,
style, the vibe.
that is so true because when I was working at my mom's shop, she was very drawn to um, the big, bold prints. So Anna Marie Horner was really popular back then. I think she's gotten remarried to Anna Maria Perry now. Um, K Facet, Tula Pink was just coming on the scene. And there's a very different vibe with those designers versus um, Thimbleberry, uh, Civil War reprints, 30s fabrics. It just big and bright and bold colors versus the more subdued, warm, homey, homespun type feel. So yeah, your patterns could go one direction or the other. So definitely take the time to get to know your local shops and support them. Buy fabric from them, attend classes, get to know people, really insert yourself in the community of the shop. And I think that does a lot for building your success.
And I think if you keep in mind ways to help the shop make more money than just a pattern. So if they're buying your pattern from a distributor, you can come in, you can have kits made with that shop and then sell the kits and there everyone's making money. You can host classes, you can do trunk shows, right, Andy?
Yeah, yeah, I've had several experiences like that where I just arranged a demo day and I, brought in my own backdrop and had a table just in the corner of the shop that had my selection and it was great to then drive the sales for the shop because people would see my pattern, they'd immediately go pick out the fabric. So that's great. One tip I have for people in terms of um, helping the shops out is if you are interested in kitting up fabric, yes, you have your fabric requirements, but especially things like block of the month or something, you can make a more tailored handout for the shop of how to cut the fabric for the customers and things like that. Anything you can do to make the shop's job easier. If there are product tie-ins, that is a great one. I have several patterns that feature the twister rulers. So, that's perfect for a shop and you should always if you have the opportunity to teach your own patterns in a shop, look for ways to make those add-on sales beyond just the fabric. I'm always promoting the add a quarter ruler, the block lock, these kind of staple notions. The Kai scissors with the neck holder when I'm teaching long arm classes. That's an easy thing to recommend for your students in class to get from the shop.
And I would keep in mind that while you're at the shop, so I'm imagining you with your table and everything, and I'm like, okay, while you're at the shop, keep in mind that you are seen as a representation of the shop. You are not there solely as your own person. So if people are coming up to you asking questions that aren't necessarily about your pattern, you can help them by directing them to someone who can help. Or if you do know a lot about the machines, like I purchased my baby lock because I love their machines and I learned a lot by just being in the shop. So I can be like, well, I have this machine. I really love it, but let me find you, Emily was the shop owner. Let me find you Emily who like knows everything about these machines because you're gonna love it. Let me just grab her. And then I would go get her. So like I think a mindset there too is that you're there representing not just your business, but also the quilt shop and as a whole, like the quilting industry. So like if newbies are coming in, you want to make sure you're like embracing them and things like that. You want to make sure you are an extension of the quilt shop and an extension of the quilting industry as a whole.
Yeah, yeah. Um, One other thing that may come to mind in terms of making things easier for the shop and making it easy for them to say yes to carrying your patterns is if you offer a trunk show. And this is not necessarily an in-person where you have to come and show off your quilts, which is a great event. If your store has these kind of sample days where, you know, meet the designer, you can certainly offer to go to a shop and do that kind of event. But you can also offer a trunk show nationwide and ship several quilts with your patterns. And I've done that before. So if people need some help, I'm happy to share the little simple contract I've written up. It is not illegal. I did not pay an attorney to draft this contract. It just kind of spells out certain expectations, definitely list the quilts. I say that they need to be shipped back in the same, what's the word
Container.
I'm thinking of? In the same condition as they
Sure.
arrived, so they need to be, wrapped in plastic because I don't want them to get wet in the mail if it goes through a rain or snowstorm or something. Um, and the shipping, I pay to obviously ship to the shop, but then I expect them to pay to ship it back. So just spell out some of those expectations. But yeah, if you've got a sample ready, that certainly takes the burden off a shop to make up a sample. Um, but then we get into that whole aspect of, is it using a fabric they have and all that kind of stuff. So
My local shop in Arizona, so she would order fabric for me if I had that, if I asked for it. So one thing I loved was grunge.
mhm,
And at the time, I was making, like, all my samples with grunge because, like, as a pattern designer, you're looking for more, like, solids or tone on tones for your patterns. And so she would order, the grunge that I liked, and then she would pick the ones that her customers typically like, and that's how she would, like, pull more fabric in. And a note on shipping your quilts. I saw someone make this suggestion. I think it's brilliant, but don't ship the ones that'll make you cry if you lose it. So when you're
pretty good
putting it
advice.
together a chunk show, yeah, keep in mind that if this quilt gets lost, will your heart be broken? Definitely take a bunch of pictures of it just in case. But yeah, that was a piece of advice I saw that I was like, that's good to keep in mind.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But we all know that samples sell. So whatever you can do to help the quilt shop feature your pattern is a great idea. Talk to them about doing demo days, meet the designer events, anything you can do. But you know, it it comes back to that relationship. If you can get into a local shop and be really partner with them, then I think that will go a long way to having them feature your patterns and be the premier destination, when you have a new release. So
And
that
I,
would be
I think
exciting.
that I think you're totally right. I think approaching that conversation specifically when you walk in, I think you need to make an appointment first off because you're two professionals that need to meet together. And the shop owner is very busy. Like shop owners are incredibly busy. So I would definitely make an appointment and then I would lead with, I want to make sure that this is valuable for both of us. And so they know that you want to be a partner, that you're not there just to make money for yourself. You actually want success for the quilt shop. Because without the quilt shops, like especially now that Joanne's gone, like the quilting industry is going to nosedive. We need the quilt shops and we need to be able to partner with them and everyone to raise each other up, be more successful in this endeavor. So I think approaching it as a partnership is amazing. I love all the suggestions you had about having like extras that you can sell along with like your pattern or your trunk show or anything like that. I think it's going to be wonderful. And anytime you can talk up machines, it's going to be great because we all know that the quilt shops, if they have machines in there, that's their big money maker. I'm also thinking from a digital marketing perspective, get online. Whatever your main social media platform is, you need to push out what you're doing at that shop. Every time you enter that shop, I would expect you to take a video as your digital marketing coach on Quilting on the Side. I would expect you to be the hype person for that local shop that you want to work with. Any shop that you walk in. If you're on vacation, you better be taking a reel and showing the beautiful side they've worked on. Let's probably hundreds of dollars. Walk through their aisles, show how beautiful it is, tag their location, tag them. It's going to help enormously with their digital presence. And if you even want to go the extra mile, doing a blog post where you give them backlinks is going to help. Like, be their cheerleader, raise them up, take reels, take videos, take pictures. That's the word I'm looking for. Carousels are great. Talk to the, and if it's awkward for you, ask them and be like, "Hey, can I just do this?" Or you could do little videos. Like I like to like the last one I did. I walked up to a door, showed the sign, and then stopped the video. I walked in, and when nobody was looking, I went ahead and did like a little sweep of the store so you could see what it feels like to walk in. And then I found some really cute areas that they've really decorated well. It looks so beautiful. And I just did a slow pan in or out, kind of depending on where I was, just to kind of showcase some of the stuff they have in there. And then I like put on the screen, like, look at this adorable quilt shop in, wherever their location is. And I tag their location. Like, you can do simple things like that that's going to raise their digital presence and pull more people in. I didn't know, and this is just a testament to social media. There's a place 2 blocks from me that hosts Seriously, I've been here for 4 years, and I didn't know that they host crafting classes, like hand so they don't have, a machine set up. I mean, they might, the room is huge, but they're like 2 blocks from me, and I didn't know about it for 4 years, and it popped up on my TikTok. I was like, "Wait, what? I've seen that sign before. What? That's what they do there?" I thought it was like a souvenir shop, and it wasn't. It was a crafting place. They do crochet, knit, um, hand embroidery stuff that's the classes they were talking about. And, one of them was painting, another one was, like, ceramic painting, it seems like they brought their own ceramic. But, like, doing that online can help reach local people, it can help pull people are on vacation, people like to do, the road trips where they stop at all the quilt shops, and if they don't know there's a quilt shop there, like, this could be a great way to help boost their social, presence.
Yeah, of course. And like you said, it needs to be a partnership. Anytime you can shout out your local area, it's going to boost everybody's visibility. So that is a great reminder uh, to promote your local shops and tag them on all your content. Um, and that has been a big reminder, not necessarily just for pattern designers, but for teachers as well. Because when I have conversations with my local shop and their teacher coordinator, because she's always sending us reminders, hey, I need future events and get me your supply list and all those kind of reminders. But we've had those conversations that it's not just on the shop to promote your event. You need to be out there letting people know, "Hey, I'm teaching this weekend at whatever shop it is, or I have a
Mhm.
class coming up here." Uh, yeah, e every time you take a picture of your fabric, you can tag a local shop or a manufacturer or something and
Yeah.
start.
I bought fabric from online shops, and I was on there going, "Hey, I got this from I got these from this person, I got this," and I would tag them because I'm like, "Hey, to help your digital presence." You also want to send an email to your email list. That's been a question I've had before where should I even tell my list that I'm teaching locally? Yes. Number 1, you don't know who's on your list, right? There are people who may drive 2 hours just to take a class from you in person. There may be people driving through. I've had a person drive through they were coming through Tucson. I was an hour down, and they're like, "Hey, I wanna come to your shop and learn free motion quilting." Like, "Great, come on down." And it shows that even if they're out in the local area and they cannot see you in person, it still builds up your authority, right? It builds up your authority, it builds up your trust because 'cause we're in the age of AI where not everything is trustworthy, so showing that you are physically teaching real people in these real settings, great authority booster. So, yes, if you have an email list, which you all should have an email list, I'm, like, shaking my finger at my microphone. Uh, you should all have an email list, and whenever you're teaching, at least insert it into your newsletter. It doesn't have to be like a standalone email, but in your newsletter, be like, "Hey, I'm gonna be teaching over here these dates. Like, we're really excited about this subject," and you can keep it that simple.
Yeah, yeah, great ideas. And a lot of shops have online sales. You mentioned, the lack of accessibility with Joann's closing. So if you can tag your local shop in an email and say, I've got this pattern coming out, you can find it in this such and such a shop, and I used their fabric line, blah, blah, blah. Tag them, and then other people can go direct to the source. And like you said, that's a great boost for everyone. Any other thoughts on partnering with quilt shops? I'd love to hear from shop owners. If they're listening to this episode, please comment, send us an email, let us know what you have found successful in terms of pattern sales and working with pattern designers.
And I hope we brought a perspective that shows that this isn't a competition. Shops are the heart and soul of the quilting industry, and pattern designers are here to help raise that up, to help give an instrument for people to make quilts with, and that we can all help each other and make this a better industry.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely want to see quilting continue for generations to come. So thanks, everybody. We hope you find some quilting time real soon, and we'll see you in the next episode.
That's a wrap on today's conversation. We hope it gave you something real to take back to your business.
And if you liked this episode, please hit subscribe and leave us a review. It helps more quilters find the show and feel a little less alone on their entrepreneurial journey.
And if you want more support from behind the scenes content to live chats, you'll find more in our Quilting on the Side community on Patreon. And as always, don't forget to do
A little
quilting
quilting on the
the
side.
side.